Hello everyone, welcome to Trades Talk Tuesdays. I'm your host, Pop Culture Mechanic. Please call me Pop for short. So today, we're going to go through the skilled trades and what kind of shortages there is of tradespeople out there and how to get into the skilled trades and what exactly they are. I have a few articles here to read through. But first, we'll go through the news, as we so often do. And we'll have a look on here, and here we are. We'll have a look. Plant Magazine. Let's see if there's any interesting articles to read here. U.S. is ready to lend Poland $4 billion for a nuclear energy plan. Okay, so that means why is the U.S. so ready to lend out money for Poland to have a nuclear energy? Kind of strange to me. Next up, Magna to engineer and build off-road electric vehicle for industrial group Ineos. An off-road electric vehicle. Well, you better make sure that thing has a lot of range to it, because out there, if you're off-road in the middle of nowhere, there's nowhere to plug into. EMC's new logo. I don't know who EMC is. Establishment of Hitachi Global Air Power. I'm using a new browser, so I've given up on Firefox, and I'm using a new browser called Brave. And it seems to do pretty good at blocking a lot of pop-ups. I'm really enjoying it. What do we got here? U.S. Energy Secretary says G7 can lead global emissions cuts. Okay. What about China and India? Are they going to lead in emission cuts? Or are they doing anything? Why is the onus on always us to do this? Canada's pledge to make more vaccines at home is still a work in progress. Yeah, okay. Good luck with that. Until people work for slave wages, I don't think you're going to have any kind of manufacturing here. And the government's not going to do anything to help that either. They're pretty useless. Stats Canada says manufacturing sales are down 3.6% in February. All right. Stiff EPA emission limits to boost U.S. electric vehicle sales. Really? Is that going to happen, though? Is the EPA putting emission limits going to boost electric vehicle sales? Let's have a look. Why not? Let's read this guy. Washington. The Biden administration is proposing stiff new automobile pollution limits that would require up to 2/3 of new vehicles sold in the U.S. to be electric by 2032. A nearly tenfold increase over current electric vehicle sales. The proposed regulation, announced Wednesday by the Environmental Protection Agency, would set tailpipe emission limits for the 2027 through 2032 model years that are the strictest ever imposed, and call for far more new EV sales than the auto industry agreed to less than 2 years ago. Once finalized, the plan would represent the strongest push yet towards a once almost unthinkable shift from gasoline-powered cars and trucks to battery-powered vehicles. Look at what the EPA is proposing, how the plan serves President Joe Biden's ambitious goal to cut America's planet-warming greenhouse gas emissions in half by 2030, and whether the auto industry can meet the new EV targets. What the EPA is proposing. The proposed tailpipe pollution limits don't require a specific number of electric vehicles to be sold every year, but instead mandate limits on greenhouse gas emissions, depending on how automakers comply. The EPA projects that at least 60% of new passenger vehicles sold in the U.S. would be electric by 2030 and up to 67% by 2032. For slightly larger medium-duty trucks, the EPA projects 46% of new vehicle sales will be EVs in 2032. EPA Administrator Michael Regan called the proposal the strongest ever federal pollution standards for both cars and trucks. The new rules will accelerate our ongoing transition to a clean vehicle future, tackle the climate crisis head on, and improve air quality for communities all across the country, Regan said at EPA headquarters. This is historic news for our children, our climate, and our future. The agency will select from a range of options after a public comment period, Regan said. The rule is expected to become final next year. Yeah, that's all fine and dandy, but how are batteries made? Does anybody know? Do they grow on trees, or, are they magically appear when you need them? It was my understanding that you had to dig minerals out of the earth to send for processing to make into batteries. Yeah, the equipment that's going to do all that is going to be, guess what? Run by gasoline powered, diesel power. It's not going to be just something that magically appears. And when those batteries are done, are they going to spend the money to rip them all apart and reprocess or recycle any of the parts within? Or are they just going to throw them in the ground and hope that everybody forgets about it? So I'm very curious as to what their plan is. That's great. They're like, oh, electricity is the best thing to make cars. Okay, and where do we get all the electricity to charge the batteries? Is that going to come from natural gas plants, coal plants, hydroelectric, solar? Is that what they're gonna do? Because you're not going to get a lot of solar to charge up your batteries for your car. That's my little rant, but let's continue. What the auto industry is saying. Joe Bozzella, CEO of the Alliance for Automotive Innovation, a trade group representing Ford, General Motors, and other automakers, called the EPA's proposal aggressive by any measure and wrote in a statement that it exceeds the Biden administration's 50% electric vehicle sales target for 2030, announced less than 2 years ago. Reaching half was always a stretch goal, contingent on manufacturing incentives and tax credits to make EVs more affordable, he wrote. The question isn't, can this be done? It's how fast can it be done, Bozzella wrote. How fast will depend on almost exclusively on having the right policies and market conditions in place. European carmaker Stellantis said officials were surprised that none of the alternatives proposed by EPA aligned with the president's previously announced target of 50% EVs by 2030. How the changes could benefit the environment. Here we go. Here's where we get beat over the head with it's all for the environment. The proposed standards for light-duty cars and trucks are projected to result in a 56% reduction in projected greenhouse gas emissions compared with existing standards for model year 2026, the EPA said. Proposals would improve air quality for communities across the nation, avoiding nearly 10 billion tons of carbon dioxide emissions by 2055, more than twice the total U.S. CO2 emissions last year. Just so you're aware, CO2 is good for the trees. They take it in and they give us back oxygen from it. So I don't know why they keep wanting to cut CO2 emissions. Where I live, we barely got into double digits for the temperature, so you can't tell me that it's global warming or the climate change. The plan also would save thousands of dollars over the lives of the vehicles sold and reduce U.S. reliance on approximately 20 billion barrels of oil imports, the agency said. Yeah, okay, but you still need tires for your car, which last time I checked, they use quite a bit of oil to make tires. Is the EPA proposal realistic? With electric vehicles accounting for just 7.2% of U.S. vehicle sales in the first quarter of this year, the industry has a long way to go to even approach the Biden administration's targets. However, the percentage of EV sales is growing. Last year, it was 5.8% of new vehicle sales. Many auto industry analysts say it will be difficult for automakers to meet the projected sales percentage. Consulting firm LMC Automotive, for instance, said new EV sales could reach 49% in 2032, but are unlikely to go above that, citing high prices for EVs compared with gas-powered cars. Yeah, it's a price point. That's great. You want everyone to drive an electric car. Stop making them $70,000 to buy one. You want everyone to drive a car that's an electric one? 20 grand. 20 to 25 grand. There you go. People are picking up a car, maybe as a second car. So you guys they got to be more realistic. If they're anything like computers, the longer they are made, with all the R&D that's done, recouping all their costs and all that, they should be able, and they're mass producing them, the price should fall, and then people will buy them. But not until they come down to a reasonable price for the average person. Considering even that the inflation that has happened now is really kicking everyone around, like badly. So I think they should be more realistic. Stop talking about pie in the sky kind of stuff, because you're not going to get 50% of people in by 2030. So yeah, just give it up, government. Just stop it. A new poll released Tuesday shows that many Americans aren't yet sold on going electric for their next car. With high prices and too few charging stations, the main deterrents, only 19% of U.S. adults say it's very or extremely likely they will purchase an EV for the next time they buy a car, while 22% say it's somewhat likely, about half. 47% say they are unlikely to go electric, according to the poll by the Associated Press Center for Public Affairs, Research, and Energy Policy Institute at the University of Chicago. Regan called the 2032 goal ambitious, but achievable. I believe we can meet the goal because we're following the market trends, he said, citing more than $120 billion of private investment in EVs and batteries in the past 2 years. That's fine. The infrastructure has to be there. If you don't have the infrastructure, you're not going to have people getting cars because there's nowhere to charge them. And even if there is, you're probably going to have lineups, because if it takes 30 minutes, 90 minutes, or 60 minutes to charge your car, who wants to sit around for that long to wait for the car to charge? When you can just, you can fill up in 5 minutes and go to a gas station, pay at the pump, put it in, grab your receipt, boom, you're gone. You've got your 60 liters or however much fuel you put in, and you're good. This is the future, Regan added. The consumer demand is there. The market are enabling it. The technologies are enabling it. And this is something that we just started yesterday. Oh, this isn't something that we just started yesterday. This has been part of President Biden's vision from day one. He cited that charging stations being built across the country funded by the 2021 Infrastructure Law and billions in tax credits and other incentives from the Inflation Reduction Act and CHIPS and Science Act approved last year. We're rowing in the same direction, Regan said. Why the tailpipe rule is important. Transportation is the largest source of carbon emissions in the U.S., accounting for about 27% of the greenhouse gas emissions in the U.S. in 2020. Okay. Let's read that again. Transportation is the largest source of carbon emissions in the U.S., accounting for 27% of greenhouse gas emissions. That's it? So a quarter of it? Where are the other ones coming from? Is that industry? Are they putting out the rest of it? And what are greenhouse gases? They got to be more these catchphrases and buzzwords they use. Carbon emissions, greenhouse gas emissions. It never fully explains what greenhouse gases are. What is a carbon? What's your carbon footprint? You know, people are made of carbon. They're made out of carbon. Wood is made out of carbon. It's just crazy. Hey, Godzillionaire, good to see you. Yeah, money laundering emissions? Yeah, that sounds more like it. They're just going to sink a lot of money in here and, launder some money and give it back to them. According to the EPA, electric power generates the second largest share of greenhouse gas emissions at 25%. Electric power is what you're going to use to charge your car. And these guys, they're brain dead. They got nothing. People are getting fooled and railroaded into this stuff. It's almost cult-like. Environmental groups say stricter tailpipe pollution standards are needed to clean the air we breathe. and slow the impacts of severe weather events such as hurricanes, tornadoes, and wildfires. You're old enough to remember acid rain, the hole in the ozone layer, global warming, and now climate change. You know what, Godzillionaire? Yes, you're right. I am old enough. I was just on the tail end of acid rain, but I remember them just screaming their heads off about the ozone layer. But yeah, acid rain in the 80s, and freaking the ozone layer in the 90s. Yeah, and then global warming. And then when everything got cold and they were like, oh, it's not global warming, it's climate change. Yeah, that's it. It's climate change. So, and this is like, the environmental groups have to wake up too. They've got to, put your head on straight and just have a good, solid look at everything that's going on, because hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires, those have been going on for a long time, before we even had the Industrial Revolution. So, but history is corrupted, and they don't pay attention to the facts. Only what so they can control everyone and tell them that this is what they should do. Your buddy in Saskatchewan said he got snow today. Oh yeah, I believe it. When I woke up this morning to go to work, it was -2 Celsius. And by the end of the day, as I was driving home, it was like +16. So we had quite the weather change. Like, the sun was out, but it's just, you get that, not warming up enough. I want double digits at nighttime. Stop having all this frost. Done right, these new rules will put the U.S. on the path to end pollution from vehicle tailpipes, while also slashing our dependence on oil, creating good domestic jobs, and saving consumers money on fuel. They'll just switch it over to raising the price of electricity. That's all they're going to do. You think you're going to save on fuel, but they're just going to be like, oh, well, everyone's using so much electricity, we've got to raise the prices of electricity. Margot Ogue, former head of EPA Office of Transportation and Air Quality, called the tailpipe rules the single most important regulatory initiative by the Biden administration to combat climate change and to really reduce the worst outcomes of climate change. Yeah, it sounds like an NPC talking to me. How many solar panels are made in the U.S.? Exactly. At present, many new EVs manufactured in North America are eligible for a $7,500 tax credit under the 2022 climate law, while used EVs can get up to $4,000. However, there are price and purchaser income limits that make some vehicles ineligible. And starting April 18th, new requirements by the Treasury Department will result in fewer electric vehicles qualifying for a full $7,500. Of course there. Oh, well, there's a tax credit. Oh, but you bought that car. I'm sorry, you don't get a tax credit. A smaller credit may not be enough to attract new buyers for EVs that now cost an average of $58,600, according to the Kelly Blue Book. That must be 58,000 US. So yeah, 70,000 Canadian. It's ridiculous. I'm not buying it. These guys are just a bunch of scammers. Oh, magically Teslas won't qualify because their CEO has wrong thinking. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. Oh, sorry, you bought a Tesla? No, doesn't qualify. Sorry. Let's see. What do we got here? Well, that's enough of that. The news isn't really that great. Let's have a look here. There we are. Canada's looming skilled trade shortage crisis. This was from April the 16th, so that was Sunday. I found this article about the shortage. It starts off, 76% of Canadians say they would never pursue a skilled trade for themselves, according to a study by 3M. However, 92% think there is a lot of opportunity in the skilled trades. Behavioral economics. That just blows me away that they did this study and they found that 76% would never pursue a skilled trade for themselves. That just blows me away. Why not? Anyway, to continue, tradespeople make everything around you work and possible. Unfortunately, there is still stigma, wrestling between white and blue collar, that is, keeping too many people away from the sectors. Not enough people understand that the remuneration is higher in trades than with general bachelor's degree. The sky's the limit for those with entrepreneurial chops. Yeah, Godzilla, I don't want to get my hands dirty. That's what soap's for. Retirees, lower replacement rates, and demand is a trifecta that will, without exaggeration, hold Canada back in many ways. Economically, and will create an artificial inflationary pressure in industries, thus products. According to the Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters Survey, skill shortages have cost the Canadian economy $13 billion. 82% face labor and or skill shortages. 62% of manufacturers have lost, turned down, and faced production delays due to a lack of workers. 43% of companies postponed or canceled capital projects. 15% are considering moving some or all of their production outside of Canada. And that is just looking back over the last year. Manufacturers give government hiring and training programs overwhelmingly failure scores. It is a clear disconnect between the government and industry that cannot continue forward. The education system needs to have earlier participation with industry as well. Let's see. What has been your experience with the following government hiring and training programs? Looks like Canada Job Grant, 45%. Canada Recovery Hiring Program is 51%. That they're aware of the program, but they never used it. Same with the Canada Job Grant. They're aware of the program, but they never used it. Canada Summer Jobs, the largest is 53% are aware, but they never used it. IRAP, Youth Employment Program, 40% are unaware of the program. That's the largest part. MyTax Accelerate, I don't know what that is, but 74% were unaware of the program. And TFW program, I think that's Temporary Foreign Workers. 55% are aware of the program, but they never used it. Closing the supply chain, manufacturing new and aging infrastructure replacement is only possible with new labor development. That's Canada's functionality as a country. We're talking about here, as a country we're talking about here. When lofty promises in this realm are touted by governments, you should be asking, where will the labor come from? In 2021, 30.2% of those employed with an apprenticeship in mechanic and repair technologies or welders were 55 years of age or older, 22.1% in construction trades. According to the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum, there will be needed an average of 75,000 new apprentices hired every year in the next 5 years just to meet demand. Buildforce Canada projects the construction industry needs to hire over 309,000 new workers from 2021 to 2030, mostly just to cover the retirees. I think those numbers are underestimated. Canada not only needs to replace retirees, but also needs to have the labor force to meet the demands of the rapidly growing population as a product of mass immigration. I estimate we will need to double our current labor force in key trade fields in 20 years. In other words, we need to start having our grade ones tinkering now before we lose their interest as well. The number of registrations and certifications in apprenticeship and Red Seals all peaked in the early to mid-2010s. Skilled trade immigration has not been enough to fulfill demand, but it should be a focus. As a skilled trade immigrant, men have the highest employment probability among economic migrants, with an employment incidence of over 90%, going back over 20 years of data. It is the most successful immigration and integration group in Canada, especially for the uneducated. Surprisingly, just how low the number of immigrants who intend to work in skilled trades is. And as Godzillionaire points out, AI can't turn a wrench. So true. These people that are all enthralled with AI, I'm like, stop praising AI. If you work on a computer, this thing is going to take your job, and you will be looking for something else. So, first of all, stop praising AI, because it's going to make you obsolete. And the people that run businesses will love AI because you don't have to pay it anything, and it works 24 hours a day, never takes a break, and it's best for them, and not best for the average Joe. The pandemic has impacted people in many ways. One of them was rethinking career choices, and even though skilled trades employees experienced a higher unemployment impact than the average Canadian, it has also brought a good amount of people back and sparked interest in trades. It gave industries the second look they had been waiting for 10 years. Only 2% of 15-year-old female students indicated they were definitely planning to pursue a career in skilled trades, according to a survey done by the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development. Yes, why are you interviewing 15-year-old female students, though? Get the male students out there, too. Don't just ask the female ones. There's incredible opportunity to champion women in trades. Yes, I mean, it's nice to have the women in trades. These champions will play an important and must be visible role not only in industry but also in education system at a younger age. Women are historically underrepresented in trades. A lot of them don't want to go into the trades. You can't force them. Just think of any woman you might know who's quite small. Is she going to be hauling bricks up a ladder to put up on a wall? I don't think so. So it's because they don't want to. Don't force them to go into the trades. It's the completely wrong reason to have them go into the trades. Just so they can be represented? That's dumb. They have to go in, they should want to go into it because they want to. The transition from service-based trades will also mean women will earn more on average. And they do anyway. If you're in the trades, you're gonna earn a good wage. Businesses will be incredibly foolish not to modernize and rethink their operation to capture the talent wave, but also the next generation. There is such a fruitful opportunity to reach out to the community and be a catalyst. The smart operators will be rewarded. And that's the thing. The companies have to be proactive. They have to go out there and be like, okay, our guys are getting towards the end of their careers. We better pick up people that can learn from them, because when they retire, then they can just take their place. I found this one on Monster. What are skilled trades? Building a career as a tradesperson. Are you in search of a hands-on job where you can use practical skills to make physical things? A career in skilled trades might be right for you. But what are skilled trades? These are jobs that require a specialized skill, typically acquired through a technical or trade school, an apprenticeship, or a combination of these. You can find skilled trades in various industries. Some professions have a high demand due to special knowledge required to perform these roles, making them good career choices if job security is important to you. Some examples of skilled trade jobs in demand over the next few years are wind turbine technicians. Of course, they're going to push the environmental ones, aren't they? Okay, Monster. Solar photovoltaic installers and industrial machinery mechanics. Only going to grow at a rate of 19% apparently, whereas wind turbine technicians will be 68% and solar photovoltaic installers will be 52%. Skilled trades offer solid and predictable careers for those who want consistency in their workdays and careers. If you know you want to stay in the same field for a long time, a job in the skilled trades may fit you well. At the same time, many of these jobs allow you to have exciting experiences you would not be able to otherwise, such as reaching the top of a wind turbine or seeing the inside of a jet engine. Yeah, once again, they throw out the wind turbine there. What are skilled trades? What are skilled trade jobs exactly, and what industries can you find them in? definitions of exactly which jobs are considered skilled trades vary, but they are usually hands-on jobs. Most people think of industrial skilled trades when they heard the term, but in fact there are several other categories that are considered part of the skilled trades as well. Check out this list of skilled trades. Agriculture technology, which involves pest control, agricultural operator, greenhouse manager. Construction, plumber, electrician, painter. Transportation, bike mechanic, subway operator, automotive mechanic. I'd argue about the subway operator. That would fall under like operators, not skilled trades, but if they have to go to school for it, I guess. I just never heard of it myself. This being monster might be might be an American thing. Service, hairdresser, chef, manicurist. I've known two people, one as a hairdresser and one as a chef, so they get their blue seal. Manufacturing, welder, machinist, toolmaker. Yeah, those are the most common ones I think people think of when someone mentions skilled trades. Welder, machinist is good. Toolmaker, that's going to be very, very hard work to do. Tool and die making, you have to be very precise. Pay for skilled trades. Pay very greatly for different skilled trades. Jobs with the highest need for workers, the most specialized skills, and the longest educational paths typically pay better. These are some examples of the highest paid skilled trades. A model maker, wood, is $60,000. Aircraft equipment mechanic is $65,000. And an elevator installer is $97,000 a year. Wow, I would not expect that. I know you have to do a special, when you're doing elevator installer, you gotta complete a completely different program than anything else. I didn't think they paid that much. What are skilled trades programs? To work in skilled trades, you need an education from a skilled trade school or techno school. Obtaining a degree or diploma typically takes 1 to 2 years, but some can take up to 4 years. Many jobs require a license or certificate. The specific requirements can vary from state to state. Sometimes you may be able to acquire the license or certificate through your educational program. In other circumstances, you need to complete an apprenticeship, internship, or work under supervision after you graduate to acquire a license. Many apprenticeships pay a salary, so you can often earn money while you train for your profession as well. Yes, that is true. Continuing education is sometimes required for you to keep your license active or renew it, for example, if you work as an electrician or elevator mechanic. I haven't heard of that. I thought once you have your ticket, that's it. You shouldn't have to go and renew it again. But like I say, it might be different in the United States. How to get into the skilled trades. For a successful career in skilled trades, you need the right combination of education and experience. Choosing a reputable school that is licensed or certified from a well-known organization when applicable, or the state when required, is a good start. Consider completing an internship or apprenticeship even when it is not required, as this will help you further develop your skills and advance in your chosen field. Read our articles on how to choose an internship and why you should consider an apprenticeship for some great advice on how to navigate this part. The next step is to find your first job. Skilled trade staffing agencies can help connect you with employers who are searching for candidates. Career fairs enable you to network with employers, while seminars and workshops can also give you additional skills that employers value. For example, women in skilled trades can get advice and connections from national and local tradeswomen organizations such as Women in Non-Traditional Employment Roles, WINTER. For the best opportunities, start networking when you are a student. This can help you get an internship, but also form connections that can be useful later in your job search. To land that first job, it is also imperative to have a well-written job application. So I can attest to that. When you go to school, talk to many people as you can. They work for different companies, and you get to know them, and you get to know what the company is like and whether they're hiring or not. And then you get to know this person, and then you know someone in that company to use as a reference. So that is always a good thing too. So getting into it isn't that hard. I'm hoping that more people will decide to go into them because, as you saw by the last article, there's going to be a shortage, and it's coming. All the boomers are reaching retirement age, or they're there now. That's the reason why I got hired where I'm at. The fellow there he's getting to his retirement age, and I was brought on to take over when he retires. And then I'm hoping in about 15 years, when I decide to retire, they bring on somebody maybe 2 years before I do, and I can pass all my knowledge on to them, and they can take over while I fade into the distance and to retirement. We'll see how that goes, though. Some plans have been known to not work out so well, but we'll see. So, next up, how about looking at some pictures? We'll go like this. Like this. And you guys might have seen this already. Try that. There we go. Now I'm going to talk about centrifuges. Anybody know? Anyone who does not know what a centrifuge is? A centrifuge takes a slurry mixture, some wet substance that has solids in it, and it spins at high speed. And it gets all rid of the majority of the liquid. Yes, Godzillionaire, decanter centrifuges. Yes, you are correct. And they spin. There's a big bowl underneath these. Can you see my? Yeah, you can see. I can zoom in here too. Underneath this cover is a large bowl, and it actually looks like this thing here. That's not the best picture of it, but that's what it looks like. You have a large bowl, and inside that bowl is a screw. Those have a back drive on them too. Exactly. Yes, there is the main drive right there. That guy, and then the back drive is right there. And these things spin at about 2,600 RPM, and this thing weighs like 10,000 pounds. So you can imagine that spinning at 2,600 RPM. The thing just screams. You need to wear like heavy duty ear protection in here, because this thing they're just all screaming. And they have to be balanced, because if they're not balanced, you're going to get lots of vibration. And if you get too much vibration, these things automatically shut down. I believe it was like 30 millimeters a second as far as the vibration was. So, yes, and the screw spins slightly slower or faster depending on... Exactly. Yeah, you nailed it, Godzillionaire. Look at you go. Head of the class for you. So at this end, the solids come out. And then at this end is where the liquid comes out, and there are little chutes underneath that go through the floor and drop down into a large holding tank. And because this is at a place that processes human waste, so they take the liquid poo that has settled in the ponds outside, pump it in here with some flow polymer that gets mixed in. The polymer, when it gets wet, it turns into a sort of a sticky, snotty consistency, and it grabs onto the solids and holds it together. And so the solids go out this end and down into that tank below the floor here, because this is the second floor of a building. Used to design decanter centrifuges. Well, there you go. You should probably be telling these guys about this and not me. And yeah, municipal sludge. Yep, MSW, municipal solid waste. Yep. That was apparently where all the money was. We kept getting told that anyway. They're like, oh yeah, This is black gold. That's what the concentrated biosolids looks like. Black. So yes, and as you can see, we have 2 of the older alpha Lavals, and then we have a newer Gen 2. They called it the super centrifuge. Apparently it could do way more capacity than the first older ones here. At least it's not an open air belt press. Yeah, that would be pretty ugly. But these guys, yeah, we had them running all the time, as much as we could. Couldn't make enough. There's another shot of the area there. They would get worked on every week when we could, because you were allowed to shut one down, but you had to have the other 2 running. So it was always one down, and then the other 2 run, and then the next week you'd have the middle one down, and then the other 2 running. Then you move over to the next one and have that down. So it was always lots of maintenance done because these things ran all the time. And then I believe every year would be a complete teardown and rebuild. So for the time we did, checking every week, every year would be a complete teardown on each one, and we would fix them up so that they could run again for another year. Those are the sacks. These are the sacks of polymer. These things weigh like 2,200 pounds. At least I think that's how much they weighed. It's been a while, so since I've had to deal with any of these things. So you lift them up with the crane, because we had a crane in there. You lift those up and put them on here. This is the thing that would feed the polymer. It would, like a little dosing pump that it would feed into. Machines sitting on isolators because they shake so much? Yes. Yeah, we had every centrifuge, I think, had like 12 springs on each foot. 12? No, probably 6. 6 on each foot. Anyway, sometimes you'd see like cracked ones, and we'd have to change them out. There we are. So this is the superfuge, and we took the lid off, and here's the bowl, as you can see. But you can see there's a big coating of biosolids on there. That is human waste, people. That is where all the solids would come. It comes to that end, and they get shot out of here. And then they would gather, and then it would fall down the hole to the tank below. As you can see there, that was the solid side. And I tried to get a good shot, but down there is there's a slide gate, and that would open up and let it all fall into the tank below. There's a little better shot. The feed ports? Okay, so that's a good question. The feed ports, I'll get back to see if I can find a good shot of it. Okay, so right in here, in these older ones, the feed tube in here was fiberglass. And it went from, right here, underneath. If we lifted this cover up, it would be right there and go about, 7 feet in. So it was quite a long feed tube. And we would have to replace those. We'd have to pull those out. Sometimes they would wear out and pieces would break off inside, and we'd have to try to fish those out. Just because it's fiberglass, so it eventually wears out. Oh, feed nozzles, wear parts on the bowl. Wear parts on the bowl. You mean the ones down? I'm not sure where they would be. You hated the damn feed tubes? All you have to avoid a natural frequency? Yes, that too. We actually had on the superfuge, We had one, I think it had a stainless one. And that thing, somehow it heated up and it like welded itself to the frame. And we had a hell of a time getting that thing loose. It was unbelievable. And we were like, hey guys, this is warranty work. Like, this thing welded itself there through no, we didn't do anything to make that happen. So yeah. But yeah, the feed nozzles on the bowl. The wear parts on the bowl, I think those were, I think those were like glued in. See if I got a shot here of it. No. Although this is good. This right here is wear from the liquid hitting the same spot over and over and over again. Constant wearing away of just by the water. So we're wearing a hole in the casing. And just above that, right here, I think is where we had, there was a rubber piece that would go in there to help stop that, but it didn't go down far enough to get that from happening, to stop it. There's your silicon carbide inserts on the bowl head. Okay. Yep. Yeah, I think we did. So, yeah, those things. Yeah, in here. Yeah. They're facing inwards, but those were the inserts that would have to be replaced. And like I say, they were probably glued in. Yeah, right here. Yeah. I never had to do them personally, but I'm pretty sure that we did eventually change them out once they were worn. Oh, that's all I got for the Superfuge, eh? Okay. But as you can see, there's a lot, well, the motors are huge. You've got, you know, a bunch of belts driving this thing. You know, that's 12 belts there. That is a lot of torque to use to turn that thing. And then lining them up, taking the belts off and having to remove the bowl and everything. What a pain. There's one plant that tried to clear a bind in a machine with a plumbing snake, locking out the machine. Oh man. Who got hurt? And a plumbing snake. Oh. Don't do that. We had a pressure washer to try to clean out some of the things. We had a big long metal rod that would jam in there with the pressure washer on the one end and try to clean everything out. It was awfully messy. And as you can see, the only casualty was a pair of pants. That's good. As you can see, though, the shaking took its toll on the grout. You know, they grouted the machine in because these bases weren't original. Oh, where's that picture I was looking at? So these guys used to sit right on the ground, but then they had an upgrade and they've put them up on a stand. So they made a big, robust stand for them to sit on. And yeah, that's the stand there, the gray metal, and they put grout around it. Well, the vibrations of those things just shook it right apart. Like, nobody took into account that you have to try to balance the machines better or get it so that they don't shake as much. Otherwise, you're just wasting money. And this is what happened. It just ended up cracking all around. The only good thing about putting them on these stands was that we could get better access to them underneath. They were using spring isolators. I don't think they used viscous fluid isolators. They're probably, if they're too expensive, they probably wouldn't have done it. I know we used springs. But yeah, the power of water wears through metal. Unbelievable. Springs are much better? Okay. Yeah, I think they were pretty easy to change too, if I'm not mistaken. We also put our hydraulic power packs up here. There's one here, and then there's one over here. These power packs, these are what powered our hydraulic pumps for moving the sludge. Hey, DJ Ronnie G, how you doing? Nice stuff. Yeah, I guess it's necessary. So we had what was called a swing pump, and you will see those on the back of concrete trucks because they are very hardy pumps, and they will pump a slurry sludge mixture. They're you love the smell of sludge? You sick little monkey. Yeah, no, it's certainly potent, that's for sure. So a swing pump is we had two of them, and it is a hydraulically powered pump, and that's what these power packs are for. Each one does it on its own pump, and it pulls in the sludge and pushes it along a large diameter pipe, which I believe was 12 inches. Swing, swing, you betcha. Swing. I should be able to find a picture of that. How about this? We call it was a Bioset pump. Yeah, there you go. That's what they look like. That's a brand new one. Ours didn't look that good. Oh, wait a minute. That's more of the one that I worked on. I get a good, better picture, better close-up. There you go. Yeah, brand new. There's the hydraulic end here with the pistons here, hydraulic cylinders, and they would be connected to the pistons right here, and you could access those if you opened up this part here. You just take three nuts off and it would swing open like a door. And there's where you connect to your flange. 12-inch sounds like one hell of a swing. Oh yeah, that's right, baby. We got 12-inch swing here. But yeah, there's your output right there. Your input is probably on the other side here. The side facing away from us would be where the input is. And that is because this one would pull back and it would draw in the material, and then it would get ready to cycle, and then it would push forward, and this one would draw back. And it was just back and forth, back and forth. Recip pumps? Yeah, you could call them that, I guess. They do go back and forth. But yeah, and then right here, this thing, I can't really zoom in anymore. This thing's the water box, this guy here. And that would help with lubrication, but it would also tell you whether your seals are leaking. So if you looked in the water box and the water was black, you're like, oh, all right, we're getting some leakage past the pistons in the cylinders here. If you looked in the box and the water was sort of a gray color, you're good. It's providing its lubrication, and you can see whether anything is passing. And that's also where you would access to change out the pistons. So you would take this water box, you drain the water box, you take it off, and then you'd have access to where the connection is. And you would take out what's called the dog bone. And the dog bone was the connector between the hydraulic cylinder and the piston. So you take that out, and then you connect the cylinder, the hydraulic cylinder, to the piston directly, and you pull back on it. Well, hydraulically, you pull it back, and you could pull the piston out and then replace it with a new one. I had to do that about 2 or 3 times, so that was quite the project to take care of. But it was all in making sure that we get maximum efficiency. Now, these things are funny when they run, because a lot of people would think, you want to move lots of material? Run it as fast as you can. No, that's not how you do it. These things run on something that's called fill efficiency. So it will calculate the time it takes to fill the cylinder, this part here, because this is run by a computer. So it will take its time filling this, and then when it starts, and then it'll stop and then start its stroke, and it will calculate how long it takes to get rid of it all. And you want to run at about a 75% efficiency, or higher if you can. But running it faster does not make it move more material. In fact, quite the opposite. You pull back fast, you don't fill up the whole thing, keep going, and then you're wasting a stroke. Your fill efficiency falls, and you're not moving as much material. And you can do all sorts of things. You can, as you can see, there's hydraulic control valves back here. You can shut them off, lock them. You can control it so that probably with this control box right here, this guy, you can probably control it so that you can advance these cylinders a little bit at a time to where exactly you need them. And that's great for maintenance, because you don't ever want to have somebody doing it for you, or not have such finite control of it. But yes, the whole thing was this pump is what these power packs ran. So there's like, I think two barrelfuls of oil in here. So what's that? 400 liters? 110 gallons? 100 gallons in each one? That's a lot of oil. And occasionally we'd have a leak in one of the hydraulic lines, or they would break. They would get a lot of abrasion, or they just get old, and you'd run out of oil. All the oil, because it's on the second floor, it would run down, and it would leak all over the place, and it didn't have any way of stopping it until you found out that this thing wouldn't move anymore. The pump would just be crying, cavitating. It would go into a high temp shutdown, and you'd be like, what's going on here? And then you come down here, and there'd be a bunch of oil on the floor, and you'd be like, oh no. And then you'd have to find where the leak was, which hose it was, change it out, and then fill it back. And then you'd have to take a barrel of oil upstairs and load it into the power pack. Where is it? There's it. You'd load it into the power pack, and you'd have to do that with a filter cart, because you always want to have nice clean oil going through hydraulics. You can't have any contamination. And so you'd have the crane here, and you'd load it up, take it up, and then fill everything, and then try it out. And then eventually everything would get back to working again. But that would be on almost an all-day job. So that's what you can expect if you get into the trades. This is what to expect. And things that can go wrong will usually do that. And also your operators will help you out a lot. They'll help you out by breaking things, because a lot of operators don't care. They are there just for a paycheck. They aren't there to help you think or to help you out at all. They just want to complete their hours and go home. They don't even want to worry about your job or what you have to do. Yeah, so a Schwing pump. This thing is quite ingenious. And like I say, you'll see them on the back of concrete pumping trucks, because that's the consistency of the material to pump and what these were originally designed for. But yes, I have not seen a new one like that before. That is nice. Yeah, very nice. Actually, I should show you guys some pictures of where ours were. Do this. And I'll bring up I do have pictures of where ours were. You can see how difficult it was to get at. Okay. Okay, can you guys see that okay? Oh yeah, you guys are good. Okay. There you go. There's the water box right there. There's the hydraulic pistons right here, or hydraulic cylinders right here. And here's the piston cylinders here, the material cylinders. There's the biosolids, or poo. So yeah, ours is not in a very nice spot. As you can see, water all over the floor. This is how they clean the floor. They would just get the fire hose out and they would just spray the floor all the time. And then we'd have to use our sump pumps to pump the water out. There's another one. This is on the other side. This is where our sump pump is, and you have to put a cage around it so that nobody steps in the hole there. But they would just push all the biosolids over and try to wash it down and have the sump pump it away. But those centrifugal pumps don't like to pump anything that's solid like that. And there's a big mess of it because, this place had a lot of leaks. And there's some of the material I pulled out of this strainer, just to show what kind of stuff they have in there that clogs up the strainers for a diaphragm pump. Some of the valves for the centrifuges. There's that pipe I was telling you about, the 12-inch pipe. So this is what they would push the biosolids through to make it into the rest of the plant. It's quite a heavy-duty flanges that are on there, because you were getting into pretty high pressures. And there's our valve, our automatic valve that would open when we wanted to pump. Right now I believe it's closed. Yeah, it's closed. And I think if it got too high a pressure, this thing wouldn't open, because I think the actuator was undersized. So if there was too high of a pressure, this thing wouldn't open. You'd have to come and open it by hand. Yeah, and there's a little better picture of going into the centrifuges. You had your mixer here. They had your sludge coming in, and I believe this was from the polymer system. It would mix up here and meet up with it. Also, part of our system involved these twin screws, which would push the biosolids into the swing pump. But these are obviously worn after being in use for so many years. As you can see, this should be a nice squared off piece of steel, but it is worn out like crazy. And there's the inside, so they would rest on these bearing hangers. And the material would drop down from up here where this chute is. It would drop down and get pushed along with the twin screws. And there's another shot from the other side. There's the bearing hangers. This is obviously upside down. There we go. So this is what it would look like. And there's another shot of the shaft. I believe that's the drive shaft for the twin screws. And it is all worn out. It needs to be replaced. And this stuff isn't cheap. It's very expensive. I believe it comes from Germany. I think that's where they get it from. And this is the swing pump opened. These are poppets. And what these do is they let the material in and they close, and then they let the material I think if this is on the input side, they both let in. Yeah, it is. Yeah, this is the inlet side. And both of those, they get pulled in by hydraulic rams to open them up and let the material in, and they close and seal. And they have to do it in time. They're timed. While one's open, the other one's closed. And then as soon as the other one's closed, the other one's open. And as you can see, there's a lot of cleaning to do because that is a lot of biosolids in there. Biosolid is just a fancy name for poop. Can't remember what I was getting a shot of here, but there's a little better shot, a head-on shot of a poppet. Just looking at it, see how much it's worn. So underneath here, this is silicone that has gone over the heads of the cap screws that have to be taken out to remove these things. And we do that so that the cap screws don't get worn or filled with biosolids. It's easier to pull out the silicone than it would be to pull out a bunch of biosolids that are packed in there. And this is the pipe that that sends all the polymer. So they were wondering why they had low flow rates. Well, it was because the polymer pump or the polymer pipe was plugged. This stuff wouldn't, so we had to cut it out. And as you can see, there was just a small area that was letting the polymer come through. So all this is biosolids mixed with polymer, and it's just like a big jelly, and it's just stuck there. So, yeah, and we tried to pick it out, and it just was too hard to get it out. So it's like, you know what? I think that's a shot from the other end. Like, you know what? We'll just cut a new piece of pipe. And because I have a first-class welder, he was able to make it so that the flange was lined up properly, as he's done a lot of pipeline work. So he was able to fix that up. And he put in a root pass, and then another pass, and then I think he put a cap on. And he did that on each end, because he's got the good skills. And we were able to reinstall that, and the polymer flowed a lot better, and the operators were happy. And you always got to watch out for flattened and ripped O-rings in hydraulics, because hydraulics they're merciless. Once they find a place to squirt out of, they will, and they'll destroy a lot of stuff because the pressure is so high. Well, there's a new one. It's rounder, it's not flattened, it's all in one piece. You got to make sure it's the right durometer rating because it has to be hard enough to resist the high pressures. So that's an important thing to remember for O-rings. You have to have the right durometer rating, and also made out of the right material. Do you need butyl? Do you need EPDM? What do you need for the material that you're passing through there, and what kind of pressures? Just a little bit of, just a little shot of some of the fire suppression. I think we were wondering why there was water coming out of this pipe. So I had to take a few pictures and find out where it was coming from and why. And when it gets into this kind of stuff, call the professionals in. Don't try to do it yourself. There are fire technicians, not fire tech, but they deal with all of these kind of specialty systems, because you don't know whether it's air over water or whatever it is, how to activate it. And they know all this stuff, and they can come and reset it and drain it, and they can do it without setting off an alarm, which was a big thing for us. As soon as you set off an alarm, everyone has to stop what they're doing and run outside to the muster points. So we didn't mess around with the fire suppression systems because we were not experts in them. Call in the experts. They know what to do. Anyway, I think I have gone on long enough. I hope everyone has had a good time. Hope you learned a little something about the skilled trades. It's quite the interesting thing to get into. You want a stable and rewarding career. Think of the skilled trades. They are something that can never be taken away from you. Once you learn it, it can't be taken away from you. You can go anywhere you want, and there's always going to be a demand. In fact, even more so now that all the older tradesmen are retiring. So now's your chance. Now's your chance to get in there on the bottom or on the ground floor, and you've got your job security. This is the thing. A good pay, job security. You can be home every night, or if you want to, you can go work up, where in the oil patch. So you can work out of town. You can travel all over the place. It depends on what you specialize in. And especially if you learn about obscure things that not everyone knows, if you're the only one of the few people that know how to, like, say, install a certain machine or set up something, they're going to send you to do that. So you're going to be the one that travels to whatever city and does the job and then travels again. So for those of you that like travel, you can do a lot of it. If you're a project manager or anything like that, you're going to travel around a lot. Or if you're going to, like I say, setting up in the machine. We had somebody from Germany come and help set up one of our machines. And, that's all he did. He just traveled around helping to set up machines that people would buy from his company. So, you do that and, you have a good time. Obviously, as you get a lot older, for me anyway, I don't want to travel around anymore. I did for a little bit, but I didn't want to keep living out of a suitcase. But yes, something to consider, and spread the word to anyone that's wondering what the skilled trades are all about and whether they should get into it, because you can make a good life for yourself. And that's what it's all about. You have to take care of yourself out there. No one's going to do it for you. Anyway, I think that's enough preaching for me, eh? Thanks for stopping by, you guys. I really appreciate it. Godzillionaire and DJ Ronnie G and anyone else that would happen to be listening. I really appreciate you coming by. It means a lot. You know, I'm just a small guy on the internet, but I like to think that speaking about the trades makes me kind of like a pretty special individual that not a lot of other tradesmen do, or maybe they do. I just don't know about them. But I thank you for coming by. Please slap the like button and tell your friends about me. Spread the word. And there's other channels out there too, guys that have good content like Pacific 4-4 and Blaine's Escape Corner. Ronan66, DJ Ronnie G. There's Brandon the Anime Guy, the Nerdporeal Lifeform, Angry Canadian, Whoopa Troopa, who appears on Dadman Walking. There's Punkwaddle, he's at Floral from Under a Rock, and he has his own channel now too, so you can enjoy all of Punkwaddle's ponderances. I'm out there on Discord, it's called The Shop, because that's where the tradesmen hang out. They hang out at the shop. I'm on Twitter. I've got, I'm now broadcasting on Rumble, of all places, so I thought maybe that was a good place to try to stream to. See how Rumble goes. Coming up, Saturday, that's my game stream. Right now I'm doing the Minish Cap, so I'm liking me some Legend of Zelda, playing that before Tears of the Kingdom shows up. That's going to be on May the 12th, so I'm hopefully going to be done and beaten this one. I'm getting close now. I got to get that fourth element, and I'm right at the boss for it. So tune in on Saturday to watch me try to take down that boss. It's not a guarantee, but I just need some people to cheer me on because, man, it's tough. Sunday is anime chat. If you like anime like I like anime, you'll want to be there on Sunday. This month doesn't have a theme, but I am doing something called Pop's Choice. And so I'm presenting to everyone the underappreciated animes out there. Ones I've seen, but I find that not a lot of people are talking about. So I'm gonna mention some of the ones I think deserve a little more recognition, a little more love from everyone. And I hope you'll join me in that. Finally, circling around right back to Tuesday again. Trades Talk Tuesday. DJ Ronnie G, you're going to be playing Breath of the Wild for years to come. That's good. I had what a time I had playing Breath of the Wild. It was just so much fun. And I played it on the original hardware too. I played it on my Wii U, which was, it was great. I mean, so much to do, so much to see. Just trying to go all around Hyrule. I mean, that was so much fun. Open world Hyrule, being able to climb things. The only thing I didn't care for in the beginning was the weapons breaking on you. I was like, oh, come on. Even the Master Sword had to recharge. Like, take that out of the next game, alright? But yes, circling around to next Tuesday, I will have a special guest on. Yes, it's going to be someone I've worked with before. He is a instrumentation technician / electrician. So join me. He was going to come on and he's going to tell us his journey through the skilled trades. And hopefully he'll bring some pictures and we can have a look and see what's gone on. And he can explain some of the things that he's accomplished. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope you are too. You got bootleg amiibos for the broken stuff. Bootlegs? Come on, DJ Ronnie G. I like amiibos, but I don't have any. So I don't think I have any games that will use them. But yes, anyways, please join me next Tuesday as well. Hopefully it'll be a good time. You just write your own NFC tags? Of course you do. You hacker. Okay, Breath of the Wild uses amiibos? Alright. I knew there was a few Breath of the Wild characters. You can get a kinds of loot with them. Oh, okay. I had no idea. But it is something that I do enjoy. Playing Breath of the Wild. And look, coming up, Tears of the Kingdom. I got mine pre-ordered. Did you? All I got to do is go in there, show them my ID, and boom, I walk out with my copy of Tears of the Kingdom. You can use them once a day to get new weapons and such. Well, once again, that's something I had no idea about. I gotta say, Nintendo is just killing it this year. I mean, every Sunday when I look at the Nintendo or the video game rankings from Japan, Nintendo is dominating that. PlayStation is on there, but maybe in 3 spots, like the last week. They were there, and 2 of those were for Resident Evil 4 remakes. So, what games are they putting out that they're buying in Japan is just all Nintendo. You know, they're just they're dominating, and good for them. You know, you wouldn't believe how angry I was at Microsoft when they were like, "Oh yeah, we're going to enter the console market." I'm like, get out of here. And now PlayStation has just moved entirely away from the Japanese market. They've moved to California, and they're catering to people that aren't really gamers, and they think it's a good idea. Well, let me tell you, it's not a good idea. You're going to go down in flames, and nobody's going to buy your games. So there you go. Right. Well, like I say, it was great seeing everyone. And right now, I'm going to just shut her down, head out. It was a pleasure having everyone here. And I hope to see you soon. Once again, I am Pop Culture Mechanic, and I am signing off.